Imagine this. You're 24 years old, living in the only home you've ever known. You've spent your whole life trying to make your father proud. You worked 2 jobs while going to community college at night. You helped around the house, fixed things when they broke, and stayed quiet whenever he raised his voice. You thought that if you just kept pushing, one day he would look at you and say, "I'm proud of you, son." But that night, none of that mattered. It was a Friday evening. I had just come home from my shift at the warehouse. My back was aching, my clothes smelled like cardboard and sweat, but I was smiling because I had finally saved enough to surprise my dad with the new toolbox he had been talking about for months. I walked through the front door, toolbox in hand, ready to show him. Instead, I found him standing in the living room with a beer in his hand and a cold look in his eyes. My stepmother, Linda, was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, watching like she was waiting for a show to start. My 2 younger half-sisters were upstairs, probably told to stay out of the way. "Alex," my father said, his voice flat, "pack your things. You're out tonight." I stood there frozen, the toolbox suddenly feeling heavy in my hands. What are you talking about, Dad?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You heard me. I'm done carrying you. 24 years old and still living under my roof like some freeloader. You think I'm going to support you forever? No. Tonight, this house becomes a home again. Without you dragging it down." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out right. "Dad, I pay rent. I help with bills. I'm in school. I'm trying." "Trying?" He stepped closer, his face turning red. "Trying isn't good enough anymore. Your mother spoiled you. She's gone now, and I'm not making the same mistake. Linda and the girls deserve peace. You're a reminder of everything that went wrong in my life." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall in front of him. I looked at Linda. She just stared at the floor, not saying a word. She had never liked me much, but I never thought she would help push me out like this. He pointed toward the door. "You have 1 hour. Anything left after that goes in the trash." I walked upstairs like I was in a dream. A bad one. My room felt smaller than ever. I grabbed a duffel bag and started throwing clothes inside. Photos of my mom. A few books. The little savings I had hidden in an old shoebox. Everything else, my childhood trophies, my computer, even the bed I slept in since I was a kid, stayed behind us. I carried the bag downstairs. I heard laughter coming from the backyard. My father had already started calling friends and neighbors. Music was playing. Someone brought over a grill. He was throwing a party. A celebration to celebrate getting rid of me. I stopped at the back door for a second and looked out. There he was, my own father, raising a beer and shouting, "Best decision I ever made. No more dead weight in this house." People clapped. Some laughed. A few glanced at me with pity, but no one said anything to stop it. I walked out the front door into the cool night air. The sound of the party faded behind me as I stood on the sidewalk with 1 bag and less than $300 in my pocket. No car. No place to go. Just the clothes on my back and a broken heart. That was the night my father threw a party to celebrate kicking me out. Little did he know, 2 weeks later, he would be the one begging. I walked for hours that night. The streets were quiet, but my mind was screaming. Every step felt heavier than the last. I kept replaying his words. "You're a reminder of everything that went wrong." My mom had passed away when I was 16. Cancer took her fast. After that, my dad changed. He met Linda 2 years later, and suddenly there were new rules, new favorites, and I became the outsider in my own home. I stayed because I had nowhere else to go and because I still hoped he would love me again one day. That hope died the night of the party. Around 2 a.m., I ended up at an old 24-hour diner on the edge of town. I ordered the cheapest coffee they had and sat in a corner booth, staring at the table. The waitress, an older lady named Rosa, noticed I looked lost. She brought me a free slice of pie and asked gently if I was okay. I told her a little. Not everything, just that my dad had kicked me out. She didn't judge. She just said, "Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us hurt us the most. But you're still breathing, honey. That means the story isn't over." Her words stuck with me. I slept that night on a bench in a park nearby, using my duffel bag as a pillow. It was cold. Every time a car passed, I woke up scared. But I made it to morning. The next few days were a blur of survival. I used the little money I had for bus fare and cheap food. I crashed on a friend's couch for 2 nights, but his place was tiny and his girlfriend wasn't happy about it. I couldn't stay long. By day 4, I was staying at a cheap motel on the outskirts, paying by the night. I applied for every job I could find: warehouses, fast food, delivery, anything. Most places wanted experience or a stable address. I lied about the address and kept pushing. Every night I thought about the party. I imagined my father laughing with his friends, telling stories about how he finally got rid of the problem. It hurt so deep I could barely breathe sometimes. But something else started growing inside me, a quiet anger mixed with determination. I wasn't going to let this break me. I owed it to my mom's memory to build something better. I started waking up earlier. I read free articles on my old phone about starting over, building credit, learning skills online. I found free coding tutorials and spent hours in the motel lobby practicing on their old computer when no one was around. I didn't know it yet, but those long, lonely nights were planting the seeds for everything that would happen next. The first week passed in a fog of exhaustion and small victories. I landed a temporary warehouse job that paid cash daily. It was backbreaking work, lifting boxes for 12 hours straight, but it kept me fed and gave me a place to shower at the end of the shift. I saved every penny I could. During breaks, I kept studying. I learned basic web development. I practiced building simple websites. One night, an old classmate from high school messaged me. He had started a small freelance gig helping local businesses with their online presence. He needed help with simple sites. I offered to do it cheap just to get experience. That was my first real break. I worked on my first client project in the motel room using free tools. It wasn't perfect, but the business owner liked it and paid me $200. It felt like a fortune at the time. Meanwhile, I heard bits and pieces about what was happening at home. A mutual friend told me the party had been a big success. My father had bragged all night about how he was finally free, and how Linda and the girls were happier already. Some relatives even congratulated him. It stung, but I used that pain as fuel. I started sleeping less and working more. I found a cheap shared room in a boarding house. It wasn't much, just a bed and a locker, but it was better than the streets. I kept my head down and kept learning. By the end of the first week, I had completed 3 small freelance jobs. Word started spreading in a small local Facebook group for small businesses. People needed affordable websites, social media help, and basic digital marketing. I took every job I could get. I was tired, hungry sometimes, and still hurting from the betrayal. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was moving forward instead of just surviving my father's disappointment. Little did I know, back at my old house, things were already starting to crack. My father had made a big mistake that night, one that would come back to haunt him faster than anyone expected. 10 days after I was kicked out, I was sitting in the boarding house when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was my aunt, my dad's older sister. Her voice sounded nervous. "Alex? It's Aunt Carol. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Your father told everyone you were lazy and disrespectful. But I know that's not true." I stayed quiet, waiting. She continued. "Things at the house aren't as great as he's pretending. Linda's been complaining about money. Your dad lost some hours at work last week. And the girls, they're asking where you are. They miss having someone around who actually helped with homework and fixed things." I felt a small twist in my chest, but I didn't let it show in my voice. "Why are you telling me this, Aunt Carol?" She sighed. "Because I think he made a terrible mistake. He's too proud to admit it yet. But I wanted you to know." Not everyone believed his story. That call gave me a strange mix of feelings: sadness for the family I lost, but also a spark of hope that the truth might come out one day. I kept working. My freelance gigs were growing. One local auto shop hired me to build them a full website with online booking. They paid me $800 upfront. It was more money than I had seen in a long time. I used part of it to buy better clothes and a decent laptop from a pawn shop. I started looking more professional. I even got a cheap haircut and practiced smiling in the mirror, something I hadn't done in weeks. Back at the house, the party glow was fading. My father had spent money he didn't really have on that celebration. Beer, food, music, it all added up. Bills were coming due, and his overtime hours had been cut at the factory. He started calling old friends for loans. Some helped, but others started asking questions about why his son wasn't around anymore. The whispers were beginning. And then on day 12, I got the first direct message from him. A short text. "We need to talk." I stared at the screen for a long time. My hands were shaking. Part of me wanted to reply immediately. The hurt little boy inside still wanted his father's approval. But the new version of me, the one who had slept on park benches and built websites from nothing, typed nothing back. Not by day 13, the text turned into calls. I was in the middle of finishing a big project for a restaurant when my phone started buzzing nonstop. First my father. Then Linda. Then even my younger sister's number. I let them go to voicemail at first. When I finally listened, my father's voice sounded different. Not angry anymore, but strained. "Alex, it's Dad. Look, things got out of hand the other night. Come home. We can talk about it like adults." Linda's message was shorter. "Your father is stressed. The girls miss you. Just come back for a bit." I played the messages on speaker while I worked. Each one made the old pain flare up, but also made me stronger. They weren't calling because they missed me as a person. They were calling because life without me was getting harder. The auto shop loved their new website and referred me to 2 more businesses. I was suddenly busy from morning till night. I even started charging more because my work was getting better and faster. On day 14, exactly 2 weeks after the party, my father showed up in person. I was walking back to the boarding house after picking up groceries when I saw his old pickup truck parked outside. He was standing by the door looking tired. His clothes were wrinkled. He had dark circles under his eyes. "Alex," he called out when he saw me. I stopped a few feet away. "What do you want, Dad?" He tried to smile, but it looked forced.
So,
I was too harsh. "The party, it was stupid. I was drinking. Come home. Your room is still there. We'll figure things out." I looked at him for a long moment. This was the man who had celebrated throwing me away like I was garbage. Now he was standing here almost pleading. "I'm doing fine on my own," I said quietly. "I have work. I have a place. I don't need to come back." His face changed. The pride cracked a little. "We need you, Alex. The bills, things are tight right now. You always helped with that stuff. Just come back. We're family." Family. That word hit hard. But I remembered the music from the party. The laughter. The way he raised his beer like he had won something by getting rid of me. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "But not tonight." I walked past him into the boarding house and closed the door. That night he called 6 more times. Left 3 voicemails. Each one sounded more desperate than the last. The begging had officially started. The next few days were some of the busiest and most satisfying of my life. I stopped answering most of the calls. Instead, I poured everything into my work. I built a simple portfolio website showcasing my projects. I started advertising in local business groups. Clients started coming to me instead of me chasing them. One big break came when a small construction company needed a full website plus ongoing social media management. They offered me a monthly retainer that was more than my old warehouse job paid in a month. I accepted immediately. I moved out of the boarding house and into a small studio apartment. Nothing fancy. Just a clean space with a kitchenette and a desk by the window. But it was mine. I bought a second-hand couch and felt like I was finally standing on solid ground. Meanwhile, the situation at my father's house kept getting worse. From what Aunt Carol told me later, the factory had more layoffs. My father's hours were cut even further. Linda's part-time job wasn't enough to cover everything. The credit card bills from the party and normal living started piling up. My younger sisters started struggling in school without the help I used to give them with homework and projects. The house felt emptier and more stressful. My father kept calling. Sometimes angry, sometimes pleading. "You owe this family, Alex. After everything I did for you." I finally answered one call. "Dad," I said calmly, "you celebrated kicking me out. You told everyone I was worthless. Now you want me back because things are hard? That's not how this works." He went quiet for a long time. Then he said the words I never thought I'd hear. "Please, son. I'm begging you. We need your help." Begging. I told him I would come by the house the next evening. Not to move back in, just to talk. That conversation would change everything. I arrived at the house around 7 p.m. the next day. The same house I had been kicked out of 2 weeks earlier. The party decorations were long gone, but the atmosphere felt heavy. My father opened the door. He looked smaller somehow. Tired. Linda stood behind him, arms crossed but eyes nervous. The girls peeked from the stairs. We sat in the living room, the same room where he had told me to pack my things. My father started talking first. Look, Alex. I was wrong. I let my frustration get the best of me. Things have been tough since your mom passed. I took it out on you. Come home. We'll make it right. I listened quietly. Then I spoke. 2 weeks ago, you threw a party to celebrate getting rid of me. You called me dead weight. You laughed with your friends while I walked out with one bag and nowhere to go. I slept on a park bench that night, Dad. Do you even understand what that felt like? Linda looked at the floor. My father's face turned pale. I continued, my voice steady but emotional. I didn't come here to move back in. I came to tell you that I'm doing okay. Better than okay. I have my own place now. I have clients who pay me for my work. I'm building something real. They were shocked. My father asked what kind of work. I showed them my portfolio on my phone. The websites. The monthly contracts. The money I was making. Linda's eyes widened. My little sister whispered, "That's really cool, Alex." My father tried one more time. Then help us. Just for a little while. We're family. I stood up. Family doesn't celebrate throwing you away. Family doesn't make you feel worthless. I love you, Dad. But I need to love myself more right now. If you ever want a real relationship, not just help with bills, you know where to find me. I walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard my father's voice crack. Alex, please. I'm begging you. Don't leave us like this. I turned back one last time. You celebrated when I left. Now you know how it feels when someone walks away. I closed the door gently behind me. That night, the begging continued with more calls and messages. But something had shifted. I wasn't the broken boy anymore. I was the one who had survived. In the weeks that followed, my life kept moving forward. My business grew. I hired a part-time helper for simple tasks. I started taking online courses to learn even more skills. I made real friends in the local business community, people who respected me for what I had built from nothing. My father and Linda eventually had to make hard choices. They downsized some expenses. My father found a second job. The girls adjusted. We started talking more slowly, carefully. Not as father and son who lived together, but as two people trying to rebuild something broken. He never fully apologized in the big dramatic way you see in movies. But he did admit one evening over coffee that kicking me out was the worst mistake he had ever made. He said watching me succeed on my own made him realize how much he had underestimated me. Linda even thanked me privately for the help I had given the girls over the years. It wasn't perfect. The pain from that night still lingers sometimes. But I chose forgiveness on my own terms, not because they begged, but because holding on to anger would have held me back. I kept my own apartment. I kept growing my business. And I kept the memory of that cold night as a reminder of how strong I could be when pushed to the edge. Today, almost a year later, my life looks very different. I run a small but growing digital agency. I help local businesses tell their stories online. I have a team of 2 freelancers working with me. I'm even thinking about going back to school part-time to get a proper degree. My relationship with my father is better, but it's different now. I visit sometimes. We talk. He's proud in his own quiet way. He no longer throws parties to celebrate my absence. The biggest lesson I learned is this. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who teach you how strong you really are. Being kicked out broke my heart. But it also forced me to build a new life, one where I depend on myself, not on someone else's approval. If you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, if someone you love has betrayed you or made you feel worthless, I want you to hear this. Your story isn't over when they walk away or celebrate your pain. Your story gets better when you decide to keep walking forward anyway. You are not dead weight. You are not a burden. You have value even when the people closest to you can't see it yet. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep building. One day, you might find yourself in a position where the same people who pushed you away are the ones reaching out. And when that day comes, you'll have the strength to decide what happens next. So, what happened to my father after he started begging? He learned that actions have consequences. He learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about how you treat each other. He learned that celebrating someone's pain can come back to you in ways you never expect. But the real winner here wasn't revenge in the loud, dramatic sense. It was quiet justice through growth. I didn't destroy anyone. I simply refused to stay broken. I built a better life. And in doing so, I showed everyone, including myself, what I was truly capable of. That if this story touched you, if you've ever been betrayed by family or felt kicked out of your own life, drop a comment below. Tell me, what would you do if your own parents celebrated throwing you away? Would you go back when they begged? Or would you keep building on your own? Like this video if you believe in second chances, but only the ones you earn for yourself. Subscribe for more real emotional stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and quiet revenge through strength. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, the people who try to break you don't get the final say, you do. Until next time, stay strong.